Okay, so we're in the Gemara Zevachim Daf 5. I apologize, I'm pretty far behind in the Daf. So at the end of 4, it says, "And it was necessary for the Torah to include the verse, that which has gone out of your lips, and it was necessary to include the verse, this is the law. As had the merciful one written in the Torah, only the verse, that which has gone out of your lips, I would say," now we're in Daf 5, "that we do not know what requirement does not disqualify the offering if not fulfilled. So therefore the merciful one writes the verse, this is the law, juxtaposing all offerings with a peace offering, which must be performed for its own sake. And if the merciful one had written only the verse, this is the law, I would say that offerings sacrificed not for their sake should be disqualified. Therefore the merciful one writes the verse, that which has gone out of your lips, teaching that they are accepted, though they do not satisfy their owner's obligations." So Reish Lakish raised the difficulty while lying on his stomach in the study hall. If offerings that were sacrificed for the sake of the wrong type of offering or someone other than the owner are fit, let them propitiate God, and let them satisfy the obligation of their owners. And if they do not propitiate God, why are they brought as offerings at all? So Rabbi Elazar said to him, "We found a precedent for this in the case of offerings brought after the death of their owners, as they are fit. They do not propitiate God, as they do not have owners requiring atonement. This is, as we learned in the Mishnah, Kitim 2.5, with regard to a woman after childbirth who brought her sin offerings and then died, the heirs shall bring her burnt offering, and if she brought her burnt offering and then died, and heirs shall not bring her sin offering. Evidently, a burnt offering is sacrificed even if it does not satisfy its owner's obligation." Reish Lakish said to him, "I concede to you with regard to a burnt offering that it is sacrificed even if it does not satisfy its owner's obligation, since it is brought even after its owner's death in the case of the woman who died after bringing her sin offering. But from where do we derive that a guilt offering, which is brought for atonement and therefore not brought after its owner's death, is brought even in a case where it was slaughtered not for its sake and therefore will not satisfy its owner's obligation?" So Rabbi Elazar said to him, Your side of the dispute is written in the Mishnah next to the opinion that you find difficult. So following the opinion in the Mishnah in 2a that only a sin offering and a paschal offering are disqualified if they are slaughtered for the sake of the wrong type of offering, the Mishnah teaches that Rabbi Eliezer says the goat offering too is unfit when sacrificed not for its sake. So Reish Lakish said, in reference to Rabbi Elazar, is he the one of whom people say that he is a great man? I am referring to the entire Mishnah, specifically to the opinion of the first Tana, which is accepted halacha. And you say to me that the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer resolves my difficulty? So rather, Reish Lakish said, I will introduce a solution to my own difficulty. He then recited the exegesis stated above. The verse states, that which has gone out of your lips you shall observe and do, etc. How can this be referring to a gift offering? It is already referred to as a vow offering and so on, as stated above. In other words, it is derived from a verse that although the offering does not satisfy the obligation of its owner, it is fit to be sacrificed as a gift offering. So Rabbi Zera and Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abba were sitting, and Abaye was sitting with them, and they were sitting and saying, the cause of a guilt offering was difficult for Reish Lakish, as a guilt offering is not brought after the owner's death. And he adduced the derivation from the verse that says, quote, that which has gone out of your lips, etc., as a solution to it. This resolution is difficult. Why not say that only an offering that is brought for a vow or a gift is brought even in a case where it does not propitiate, since the verse mentions a vow and a gift? But a guilt offering, which is not brought voluntarily, should not be brought at all if it was slaughtered for the sake of the wrong type of offering. How does the verse resolve Reish Lakish's difficulty? Abaye said to them, although Reish Lakish cited that verse, he actually introduced a solution to his difficulty from here, quote, and slaughter it for a sin offering, end of quote, Leviticus 4:33. It is derived from the word it. In this verse, that if a sin offering is slaughtered for its sake, it is fit. If it is slaughtered not for its sake, it is unfit. Consequently, other offerings slaughtered not for their sake, including the guilt offering, are fit. And since one might have thought that once they are fit, they also propitiate God, the verse states, quote, that which has gone out of your lips, from which it is derived that such an offering does not satisfy its owner's obligation. So Rabbi Zera and Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abba ask him, but since the phrase in the verse, that which has gone out of your lips, is referring to offerings brought for a vow or a gift, Why not say that only these offerings do not propitiate God, even though one must bring them if slaughtered for the sake of the wrong offering, but a guilt offering slaughtered for the sake of the wrong offering propitiates God as well? So Abaye said in response, you cannot say that a guilt offering that was slaughtered for the sake of the wrong offering propitiates God, due to an a fortiori inference from a burnt offering, just as a burnt offering which does not atone for a sin, as it is brought as a vow or gift offering, still does not propitiate God if it was slaughtered for the sake of the wrong offering, so too with regard to a guilt offering which atones for a sin and is therefore treated more stringently. Is it not logical that it does not propitiate God? Okay. The Gemara challenges the inference. What is unique about a burnt offering? It is unique in that it is totally consumed on the altar. By contrast, the meat of a guilt offering is eaten by priests, since in some ways a burnt offering is treated more stringently than a guilt offering. No a fortiori inference can be derived from one to the other. So the Gemara answers, a peace offering can prove that this aspect is not relevant, since it is not totally consumed on the altar, and since if slaughtered for the sake of the wrong offering, it does not satisfy the owner's obligation. The inference can therefore be drawn from a peace offering rather than a burnt offering. The Gemara rejects this as well. What is unique about a peace offering? It is unique in that it requires libations and the waving of the breast and the right hind leg. The Gemara answers, if so, a burnt offering can prove the point, since these stringencies do not apply to it, and the inference has reverted to the starting point. At this stage, the halacha is derived from a combination of the two sources. The aspect of this case, a burnt offering, is not like the aspect of that case, the peace offering, and the aspect of that case is not like the aspect of this case. So their common element is that they are offerings, and if one slaughtered them not for their sake, they are fit, but they do not propitiate. So too, I shall include a guilt offering in this halacha, as it is an offering, and therefore if one slaughtered it not for its sake, it is fit, but it does not propitiate. The Gemara rejects this as well. What is unique about their common element, the common element of a burnt offering and a peace offering? These offerings are unique in that they are brought by the public. There are no communal burnt offerings and peace offerings, there are communal burnt offerings and peace offerings, but there are no communal guilt offerings. Okay, the Gemara responds, a thanks offering can prove the point. Since there are no communal thanks offerings, and still a thanks offering slaughtered not for its sake does not satisfy its owner's obligation. So the Gemara rejects this as well. What is unique about a thanks offering? It is unique in that it requires a meal offering of 40 loaves of bread. The Gemara answers, if so, a burnt offering and a peace offering can prove the point, as loaves are not brought with them, and the inference has reverted to the starting point. The halacha has derived from a combination of the two sources. The aspect of this case, a burnt offering and a peace offering, is not like the aspect of that case, a thanks offering, and the aspect of that case is not like the aspect of this case. Their common element is that they are offerings, and if one slaughtered them not for their sake, they are fit, but do not propitiate God. So too, I shall include a guilt offering in this halacha, as it is an offering, and therefore if one slaughtered it not for its sake, it is fit, but does not propitiate God. So the Gemara rejects this as well. What is unique about the common elements of a thanks offering, a burnt offering, and a peace offering? It is unique in that these offerings are brought either as a vow offering or as a guilt offering. As a vow offering or as a gift offering. Whereas a guilt offering is brought only to fulfill an obligation. Rather, Rava says the verse, this is the law of the burnt offering, of the meal offering, of the sin offering, of the guilt offering, of the consecration offering, and of the sacrifice of peace offerings. Leviticus 7:37 juxtaposes a guilt offering with a peace offering, indicating that just as peace offerings are offerings, and if one slaughtered them, not for their sake they are fit, but do not propitiate, so too I shall include a guilt offering, as it is an offering, and therefore if it is slaughtered not for its sake, although it is fit, it does not satisfy the obligation of its owner. So the Gemara asks, what did you see? Why do you think it is reasonable that you compared a guilt offering to a peace offering? Why not compare it to a sin offering, which is disqualified in such a case? The Gemara answers, the merciful one excludes all other offerings from the halacha concerning a peace offering in this matter, as derived from the verse, quote, and slaughter it for a sin offering, Leviticus 4:33. The Gemara provides a mnemonic for the Amoraim who participated in the two following discussions. Hey, Nun, Shin, Beit, Hey, Nun, Shin, Beit, Shin, Resh. So Rav Huna and Rav Nachman were sitting, and Rav Sheshet was sitting with them. And they were sitting and saying, Reish Lakish raised his difficulty with regard to a guilt offering, since it is not brought after its owner's death. So let Rabbi Elazar say to him that a guilt offering is also essentially brought after its owner's death, since it is sold once it develops a blemish, and the proceeds are used to buy a burnt offering. So Rav Sheshet said to them, this claim can be refuted. What element of a guilt offering is sacrificed after its owner's death? Only its remainder, that is the money from its sale that is used to purchase an animal to be sacrificed. And if so, it is no different from a sin offering, the remainder of which is also sacrificed. So a sin offering itself is entirely disqualified if slaughtered not for its sake. So Rav Huna and Rav Nachman explained, a sin offering that was slaughtered not for its sake is disqualified even though its remainder is sacrificed. Because the merciful one specifically excludes a sin offering from being a fit offering if sacrificed not for its own sake, as derived from the verse, quote, and he shall lay his hand upon the head of the goat and slaughter it in the place where they slaughter the burnt offering before the Lord. It is a sin offering, Leviticus 4:24. The redundant phrase, it is a sin offering, teaches that a sin offering is disqualified if sacrificed not for its own sake. The Gemara asks, isn't it also written with regard to a guilt offering? Quote, and the priest shall make them smoke upon the altar for an offering made by fire to the Lord. It is a guilt offering. Leviticus 7, verse 5. Why is a guilt offering not disqualified when it is slaughtered not for its sake? The Gemara answers, that verse is written not with regard to the main sacrificial rites, but with regard to the stage after the burning of the offering sacrificial portions on the altar, as it is taught in a Braita. But with regard to a guilt offering, the term it is a guilt offering is stated only after the burning of the sacrificial portions. And since the guilt offering itself is fit even in the sacrificial portions were not burned at all, it is certainly fit if they were burned not for the sake of a guilt offering. The Gemara asks, but if so, why do I need the term it is a guilt offering? To be stated at all, the Gemara answers, it is necessary for that which Rav Huna says that Rav says, as Rav Huna says that Rav says, with regard to a guilt offering whose owner died or whose transgression was otherwise atoned for, and that was therefore consigned by the court to grazing until it develops a blemish so that it can be sold and the proceeds used to purchase a burnt offering. If, before it developed a blemish, someone slaughtered it without specification of its purpose, it is fit as a burnt offering. The Gemara infers, if it was consigned to grazing, yes, it is fit as a burnt offering if slaughtered. By inference, if it was not consigned to grazing, it is not fit. What is the reason for this? The verse states, it is a guilt offering, indicating that it shall remain as it is, or as a guilt offering, unless it is consigned by the court to fulfill another purpose. So Rav Nachman and Rav Sheshet were sitting, and Rav Ada bar Matana was sitting with them. And they were sitting and saying, in response to that which Rabbi Elazar said to Reish Lakish, we have found a precedent for this situation in the case of offerings that are brought after their owner's death, as they are fit, but they do not perpetuate God. Let Reish Lakish say to him, these offerings should also be brought and perpetuate God with regard to the heirs. Why did Reish Lakish not challenge Rabbi Elazar's assumption? So Rabbi Ada bar Matana said to them, how can the offering of a woman after childbirth propitiate God after her death? If she gave birth, did her children give birth? So Rav Asi objects to this reasoning, and you shall say to us that if a woman has several violations of positive mitzvot for which to atone, she does not atone by means of the burnt offerings she brings after childbirth for her purification. Clearly, such offerings can atone for transgressions other than those for which they are brought. And since when she was several violations of positive mitzvot, she atones by means of the offering, so too, if she dies, her heirs atone by this offering for their own violations of positive mitzvot. The Gemara asks, is this to say that the offering is acquired by the heirs? And is this why it atones for their transgressions? But doesn't Rabbi Yochanan say that if one left his two sons a meal offering and then died, the offering must be sacrificed, and it does not have the status of a meal offering brought in partnership? And if it enters your mind that the offering is acquired by the heirs, it should be considered a meal offering brought in partnership, which is unfit, as the merciful one states in the Torah. And when one brings a meal offering unto the Lord, Leviticus 2, verse 1, the word one teaches that two people cannot bring a meal offering together. So clearly the heirs do not inherit the offering. And if so, it should not atone for their transgressions. So the Gemara asks, And is the offering not acquired by them? But doesn't Rabbi Yochanan say himself that if one left his 2 sons an animal offering and then died, the offering must be sacrificed, and they cannot effect substitution for another animal for it? Even if they declare another animal to be a substitute for it, that animal is not consecrated. Granted, if you say that the offering is acquired by them, this is the reason that they cannot effect substitution of another animal for it. It is because they are like partners. And that is the end of Daf 5.